Alright, hello YouTube. Welcome to Doing It Yourself. Today we got a 1983 Honda 200X. She's a little dirty, but man, she's a beauty. Brings back memories. Got her all cleaned up, get ready to go. What we're doing on this is 1985. I just screwed that up. It's a 1985. I said 1983 for some reason. Anyway, 1985 200X. We're going to be doing a carburetor complete removal and clean. And I do some other stuff just to kind of help spruce it up for the guy. This is a friend of mine's kid's wheeler here. Did a full ceramic, hot ceramic black paint job on the exhaust. Made him an intake on the exhaust, or for the carburetor rather. Made an air filter for it. So as you'll see, here's a couple of surprises in the airbox. I don't know how those got there, but they were in there. So anyways, take off your seat, remove the two rubber caps, and there's two double-sided looking bolts here. One side's got like a little snap ring for the rubber caps to go on. Then you got a bolt. I believe that was a 9/16. I told myself I would remember, and then I forgot. So anyways, take both the 9/16. Take both those bolts out. And then here in just a second, I'll show you remove the fuel line from the petcock to the carburetor. As you can see, there's a little bit of fuel leaking. Found a surprise fuel leak on the upper part of the tank. It could be a permanent fix if you really want it to be, but it's not meant to be a permanent fix. But just in order to kind of save some money for him, I wasn't charging him really anything to do this, just for parts, and that was it. So I went ahead and took some of the, I believe it's made by Goop. It's in a yellow container. You get it at parts stores. And it's gas resistant, gas null resistant, so I put that on there to fix the fuel leak. Anyways, you take those two bolts off, as I was just pointing out there, on your intake manifold, one on each side. Stupid me, sorry. Forgot to show you when I was taking them out. Now, he's got this air filter on here. This is not stock. This is not the right air filter. You can see the air box there. There should be a whole intake. I kind of put one together later. I think you can see it in the video at the end of the film here. Once you get that off, you're going to take a throttle cable off with your barrel slide. You just undo that on the top, unscrew it. It should pop right off. There is a seal up underneath of there. They've probably gone bad in the past. I don't believe I've ever had one go bad, but they definitely can, just like anything else. So you want to look underneath of that, where that spring's hanging out there. Check the seal underneath of that. And you just kind of turn the whole carburetor with the intake manifold boot there. Turn it sideways slightly. And boom, slides right out. As you can see, outside is pretty cruddy. So definitely needs a clean job. Had a little surprise here. In just a second, you'll see something at the bottom of the bowl. It's definitely not supposed to be there. You got a good laugh out of it. Using the impact drill here, you don't want to strip those screws out. They are a royal pain in the you-know-where to get out if you strip them out. That impact, you put the pressure on it, kind of helps prevent you from doing that. And you can see down there, look at the bottom of the bowl there. There is our jet. That is your pilot jet. It's not supposed to be down there. It's supposed to be right there by your main jet right there in the middle. So, kind of try to show you throughout the video down in the, try to give you a good look down through each of those jets. You should be able to see light through them. These two, you definitely won't be able to see any light. They definitely needed cleaned, especially that main jet right there in the middle, the long one. That was about probably 90% clogged at least. So here to speeding up the video, cleaning out the groove, some kind of leftover residue. Looks like sealant maybe. It just might have just been some gunked up dirt from over the years or something in there. Now, like I said, in order to save some money, I reused that rubber seal you see there for the bowl. It was kind of a pain to get it back on there just right because they tend to swell a little bit when you take them out, but I was able to get it back in. If you want to, spend a little bit of money, get your rebuild kit, put a new one of those on there at the bare minimum, just to help seal up the bowl, keep you from getting any leaks or any gunk in there. And that's your air fuel mix screw there. The first one I pointed to, and then one's your main jet. So I soaked the stuff. I soaked it overnight. I'm just showing you what I end up using. It's a B12 chem tool. That stuff is awesome. It is pretty potent though, so definitely use your PPE and try not to breathe in the fumes. Now, for whatever reason on this, they were 10mm metrics. This bike's old enough to where they shouldn't have been metric, but they were, so oh well, I just went with it. Just taking off the fuel line. It was a little stubborn because it had been on there for a minute. So when you clean these things, you'll see as I go through the video here, you want to clean everything. The outside of it, try to get any kind of dirt you can see off of there. This one's really cruddy down inside of it. There is a lot of buildup. There's stuff that even after carburetor cleaner was sprayed on it and the B12 chem tool soaked on it overnight, it was still in there that I had to kind of scrape out in order to get it all loose. And I used air pressure from an air compressor with an air gun and sprayed that through it. You want to make sure you get everything out. The slightest little piece of dirt in one of these things, you'll see how small they are here in a few minutes, will really do a lot of harm and have you running all funky. So you can see there, you couldn't see any light through there at all. Later in the video, I tried to get it focused after I get it cleaned out, and you will see light through it. So this air fuel mixture screw I'm thinking out now, there is a tiny little washer on there. There's a spring as well. Now the spring had some kind of a white powdery residue on it. I think it was something left over maybe from some ethanol or something. Either way, we got it cleaned up, looking nice and shiny like new again. And later on when you inspect this, I'll go over it when I do that. Not only do you want to clean that air fuel mixture screw, you do want to feel the very end of it with a fingernail. If you feel any kind of bumps on that needle tip, it's no good. It's got to be completely smooth. If there's any indentations on it, no joy. Got to replace it. So yeah, when you put that air fuel mixture screw back in there, you slide it through the spring, and then make sure the little tiny washer is down at the bottom of that, so the other side of the spring. I was just showing you there a second ago how the choke works, making sure the choke was operational, it's not catching up on anything, and it's got good action on the open and close. And the spring on the outside of it, like I said, try to get every little bit of dirt you can on. I went through, I think, 4 cans of carburetor cleaner and brake cleaner on this thing, and at least 2 cans of B12 chem tool. There was something else I was using too. Yeah, it was pretty nasty, and I use a lot of the stuff because I don't want to take it back off of the wheeler once you get it installed and have to take it all apart again. So you want to make sure it's good and clean, and every hole and crevice on this thing is cleaned up. I see here I'm scraping out the stuff that was still left in there. just going to clean the spring here. We're going to clean each one of these jets. A little trick to use, you can use like the wire from bread tie through these jets if you want. I use old speaker wire. It's a little bit more flexible, not quite as stiff, because you don't want to scrape up the inside of the jets either, because that could cause them to run wrong. Cause the bike to run wrong when you reinstall them, rather. So just getting down in there, making sure we get all the white, powdery residue, whatever it was, off of this spring. And here's your main jet. Trying to point out there, you can't see any blue through there. You can't see my hand, nothing lighter. So like I said, it is clogged. Like I said, at least 90–95%. Now here, I'll speed the video up here in a second, but I'm just showing you. You take a couple of wires, speaker wire, shave them back, get the sheathing off, twist them up real good, and then you can use those to run up through the middle of your jet and kind of use them to kind of scrape around the sides and get all the gunk loose out of there. Now if you can't get, I have ran into several jets in the past of carburetors that was not able to get wire through whatsoever, and if that's the case, replace the thing. They're not that expensive. Just replace it. Obviously, to save money, you can definitely clean them, and if they're cleanable, they should run just like new anyway. And then depending on where you live, you know, higher altitudes, lower altitudes, cold weather, hot weather, different size jets obviously are going to affect how your bike runs. Here in the Midwest, it's pretty much standard because we're, you know, in that migrant climate. We're right in the middle. We get warm or hot, warm, cold, really cold. We get a little bit of everything here. So as you've seen there's a little bit of white, or a little bit of light showing through. So it definitely cleaned it out. Now here is your pilot jet. There's little bitty holes going through each of the sides. Or sorry, this is your main jet still, sorry. It's the bottom of the main jet. There's little bitty holes on the sides at the bottom, so you want to make sure each of those are cleared out too, as well as the obviously top to bottom hole that goes all the way through the whole thing. Here I just took some really fine steel wool, just kind of polish it all up, just scraping anything residual dirt and stuff away from it. Yep, I do blow it out with air and carburetor cleaner again after I do this. You definitely want to make sure there's none of that stuff in there. But you want to make sure it's clean inside and out, literally. Just run some air through it, some carb cleaner. You got it good to go. This is your air fuel, or sorry, this is your pilot jet. I can't speak. So the pilot jet, I was trying to do 2 through it. It wasn't really working, so I brought it down to just 1 strand of the wire, and it was able to get through, and I was able to actually get it cleaned out, and it turned out really good. Here's one through, around, pull it back and forth several times. That's a really small hole. It's hard for you to see the light through it even on the camera, but just by visually inspecting it, I could see that it was going through. Spray the carburetor cleaner through, and as you can see, the carburetor cleaner jetted out all the sides, so you know it's good and clean. Make sure you got nothing on your air fuel mixture screw. This is the one that you put the spring onto it, and then you put the little tiny washer onto it. But you inspect that little needle tip and make sure, like I said, there's no dents on it. Make sure it's nice and smooth. I said earlier, this thing's kind of a pain in the butt, but make sure it's not pinched, make sure it's not got any gaps in it, scrapes or dents in it, or we're gonna say, or tears. anything like that, your car's not going to run right. It's going to leak fuel. You want to make sure it's good to go. This one was just barely a pass. Like I said, trying to keep the cost down for the friend. So reused it. If the carb's ever got to be taken apart again, definitely want to replace that. But here you can see I put the spring on the air fuel mixture screw and the little washer. So you put that washer on there, then your spring. I think I said that backwards a little bit ago. Put your washer on, then your springs. My apologies for saying that backwards if I did. So I take this thing all the way down. I don't know if I'm showing it on the video, but I do take it all the way down to where it's seated. You don't want to over tighten this. Take it down to where it's just snug, and then I back it out to, 1.5. So I just got it snug there. I don't believe I got it on video when I did it, but I take it and you just do a half turn, another half turn, and then one more half turn. That works for here. That worked for us. I think it was still running just slightly rich, because you would get a little bit of a backfire once in a while, but that also could be some of the cold weather affecting it a little bit. But pretty much your standard setting is 1.5 to 2 turns out on that air fuel. Now your main jet and your pilot jet, you're going to put those all the way down in there where they are fully seated. Do not over tighten them. Just get them to where they're nice and snug and they're good to go. And here, you're going to take out I think I got this backwards when I was editing the video here. This is the float. I'll put the float back in here in a second. I think that's why I was taking it off, just to show it put back in. I think that was what I was doing. So I forgot to show it going back in. Anyways, you put the little bitty, little needle, little plunger valve. Not even a valve, it's a little plunger that goes right underneath the middle of the bracket there on that float. Then you put your pin through it. Kind of showing it here. There's your little plunger. And there's 2 little wires on it. Real fine, tiny little wires. They go on top of this thing. It's fun to put on, as you can tell. You slide it over top, or it's not over top, but rather right through. Just hold it with the finger like that. Make sure it gets seated right down in there. It's good straight up and down. And then you're going to take your pin, slide your pin back through, and then you're going to check your action of your float. Make sure it goes up and down freely. Make sure it's not, if it's hanging up at all, get any kind of a hitch to it whatsoever, it is not going to be good. It's going to just make your bowl stick. It's going to flood out. It's going to leak out the overflow right there that you see in the bottom of the bowl there, that long thing sticking up. You don't want that at all. Make sure your float is easily going up. Make sure that rubber little plunger, make sure there's nothing down inside the hole. The plunger's all clean. Slightest little piece of dirt will keep that plunger from sealing properly, and then you get gas everywhere. Put your bolt back on, get your screws back set. Do not over tighten your screws. Get them to where they're just slightly snug, and then go back after each of them are inserted snugly. That sounded weird, but anyways, then you go back and tighten them all. You don't want to tighten one all the way and then tighten the other one. You can cause kind of a ripple in that gasket in between and cause it to bulge out the side, and then again you'll have leaks and issue after issue. Kind of like you're putting on lug nuts. You kind of want to do it, only there's 3 of them here, so you can't really crisscross, but you don't want to tighten one next to the other. Now here I'm just showing the parallel bolts go on of the intake, go against the carburetor, because as you'll see, when that intake manifold gets on here, it actually sits at like a 45-degree angle. So the parallel ones that are parallel to the ground, or horizontal rather, I said parallel. I am off today. Anyways, the horizontal ones, they go horizontal to it, and then the other one's a 45 degree. You can kind of see the one hole straight through there. Then kind of speed up the video here, but that's how the intake goes on. So it's very easily just to put it on backwards because you wouldn't even really be able to tell because of the same side part and the same threading. So just make sure you don't do that. Tighten the other side. Here's your throttle, little barrel slide, needle. Make sure it's all cleaned up. Now on here, when you're looking down in there, there is a larger knob and a tiny little bitty knob on one side. And you'll see on the barrel, I think I forgot to show it in the video, but it's an obvious thicker slot on one slide, a wider slot rather, and a real skinny slot in the other. So I mean, it's only going to go in there one way. Slide it down in there, turn it a little bit. You should hear the thing slide down all the way because that spring is pushing on it. Once you get it all the way on here, it's not really that hard to get on there. I think I'm making it look harder right now than it really is. But once you get it on there, you're going to check the throttle. Throttle all the way in. Goes up, down, up, down. So we know our action's working. It's not catching on anything, it's not snagging. And just like that, it's running.